Welcome to American Gypsy Podcast. I am your host, Gypsy, and today we have a special guest, Michael Forman. He is a public speaker and an expert in networking. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you. So I read a little bit about your networking unleashed. Can you talk a little bit about introduce yourself and what you do and how you got into this line of work?
Okay. Well, I'm Michael Foreman, a public speaker. I started speaking about 10 years ago, 12 years ago. I started beginning my networking journey about 30 years ago. And it all stemmed from when I was in the Air Force to me being in the mortgage industry, to the law industry. And one thing that ties everything together is networking. And I feel that ever since the pandemic, people forgot how to communicate. They forgot how to network with one another, and they don't do the most simple things. And that's what I'm going out and teaching.
Okay. And what do you feel like, I guess the most important, because everyone talks about networking and it's easy to go out and network and meet people, but how do you effectively network so that you can actually turn that into something that is more than just meeting someone new?
Well, I always say that if you follow my steps, I'll guarantee you the next month you'll increase your profitability. Okay, so let me just start from the beginning. When you go and introduce yourself or you're introduced by somebody else, the first thing you do is you're going to look them in the eye and you're going to shake their hand. First thing is most people don't look people in the eye. Second is that they shake the hand like a dead fish. It's got to be a firm handshake. Let them know that, hey, you're in charge. Okay. And then after you meet them, then you get to the rapport building. Okay. And if you walk up to a table, let's say in a networking event, and there's four or five people already talking, when you walk up, the first thing you do is not talk. That's the first mistake that everybody makes. They want to walk, you go, yeah, 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 I know, oh yeah, oh no, I know that. You know, you have to listen to the conversation. If that's a conversation that you can give some insight to, then stick around and wait for your time and inject that.
Mhm.
Okay, so now the conversation is going. Now, I didn't say go up, walk up to the table and start handing out business cards, because that's the worst thing that you can do. As a matter of fact, I was at a networking event. I think there were four or five people, and guy came up, handed like a deck of cards. Here, take my business card. Here. Oh, let me have your business cards. Oh, listen, I'll get in touch with you later on. I just want to go around and see other tables of people, and talked really fast and left.
Mhm.
And everybody was looking around like, what am I going to do with this card? So, you know what I did with it? Threw it out.
Mhm.
So you should treat your business cards as if they're money. Don't hand them out. Now, when you walked up to that networking table and you thought about the conversation and you put some something in the conversation as worthy, um, you start a conversation that way. Never did I say you should talk about your business. If
Mhm.
you meet up with somebody and you click with somebody, you ask them their name and what they do and everything. So tell me about it. Okay. And if you firmly believe in that product, then you turn around and say, you know what? I like that so much. How can I be the best reference for you? How can I be your best salesperson?
Mhm.
Oh, well, and he'll tell you left, right, and center. Okay. Now, I still haven't said what I did. if I did my job correctly, he'll turn around and ask me for a business card. He'll ask me that brief 30-second what I do. And I teach the 30-second elevator speech because it's really not 30 seconds. It's really 5 seconds. It's 5 seconds where you're going to say something. Then if he is inquisitive about it, you'll do that follow-up question, which will be the other 20, 25 seconds. Okay, so everything all comes together. You have to do networking efficiently and effectively in order for it to work.
Mm. Yeah, it's kind of like marketing or content creation in a way. You provide value so that that person
Absolutely.
can now trust you to, go
Absolutely.
further.
And now I wrote a book, Networking Unleashed. Um, in that book, in the very first part of that book, I wrote a little something about two guys who went fishing. Okay, Marty went fishing, and Marty went with Fred, and they both went to this lake where they thought, "Oh my God, the fish are biting. Everything is wonderful." Marty went out. Fred went out. Marty came back that night. 10 fish. He caught 10 fish, and Fred came back. He caught one. He said, "What are you doing?" He goes, I don't know. Maybe they're biting better by you." He goes, "I'll tell you what. Let's switch. You take the north side, I'll take the south side, and then tonight we'll come together." Well, the night came together, and Fred came back with one fish again. Marty came back with 10 fish. What happened? "Fred, tell me what you're doing." "Well, I went to my spot and I turned some music on very low. When lunchtime came around, I took out my pots and pans and made lunch." And Marty said, "That's it. You're scaring the fish away." And the same thing goes when you're networking. Don't scare the people away. You don't appear confident. If you don't appear that you know what you're talking about, then you're going to scare them away, or they're just not going to be interested.
Mm. So after you network with someone initially, say at an event or wherever it is, what are some strategies to better cultivate the relationship after that initial meeting?
Well, the initial meeting doesn't end there,
Mhm.
because you've begun to talk about anything. But then you have to go into the rapport building. You have to build that rapport in order for that person even to talk to you again.
Mhm.
And so there's a word, form, FORM, family, occupation, recreation, and message.
Mhm.
And the message is anything you can get to on the same level. But you can talk about family. You can talk about somebody else that you know in the same industry as him or her. Recreation. Does he jet ski? Does he play baseball? What does he do? And you have to find that level. And once you have them talking about themselves, because people love to talk about themselves, they'll talk about themselves and slowly the wall will come down. And that's when you've built that relationship. You're not out to build clients, you're
Mhm.
out to build relationships, because a relationship will last 10 or 20 years when a client will last the duration of your sale.
Mhm.
So, but your question is, what do you do afterwards? So after you go through this rapport building, and let me tell you one more thing. During the networking event, how are you keeping track of everybody that you talk to?
Mhm.
Well, you're not going to walk around with a pad and pen saying, "Oh, 1 second, let me write down some information."
Mhm.
Take your business card, write down the date of the event, write down the name of the function, and something that you spoke to them about. And if you spoke to them about youth sports, his son or daughter played soccer, and they got hurt his ankle. Okay, so you jot that down so that when you go back home and you begin your follow up, you include all of that. Okay. And so let's say that you collected 15 cards and you go back home or the office, you write down an email immediately following, not days later. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a networking event. 3 days later, I've gotten, hey, remember me? No, no, I don't, because nothing in there stood out.
Mm.
So you immediately write down, hey, this is Michael. I'm glad we met. I spoke to you about your son hurting his ankle. I'm sorry to hear that. Hope it feels better. I'll talk with you soon. Signed it. Still didn't say what I did for a living. I didn't put a date down when I should meet him. Nothing. Now, after I send out those emails, here's the part that most people don't do.
Mm.
Take out a thank you note, a handwritten thank you note, and write down just what you wrote in the email. Put your business card, sign it, mail it away. You'd be surprised at how many people really appreciate that thank you note. One time, about 10 years ago, I was in the mortgage industry and I follow exactly what I'm talking about. I wrote a realtor a thank you note. And she was so thankful for my thank you note. She sent me a thank you note for my thank you note. Okay. So it really goes a long way. And there's a whole procedure that you should follow because now you've written them an email, you've written them a handwritten thank you note. So now you're not going to write an email the next day because you have to give them some time to adjust, to get their workload together, do whatever. So you wait about 3 days. And if you haven't heard, big if, um, hey, this is Mike again. I was just wondering if we can get together for a cup of coffee. I'm free Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. Will Tuesday or Wednesday work better for you? And sign it. And then usually you'll get some sort of response. Yes or no, or positive or negative, whatever. Nobody's just going to not answer you. And if you still haven't received an answer, you wait another 3 days and you email them one more time. Something close to what I just said, but get a little more specific with Tuesday or Wednesday. How about for lunch? How about for a cup of coffee? Whatever. I'll buy. And that's how you go through the process. There are many ways that you can follow up, but this is the 10 years, 30 years of me doing things, not doing things. This seems to be my best. I get the best results this
Mm.
way. And you have to remember that networking isn't just a one-off deal.
Mm.
You can't just go to the networking event and expect to get business. You
Mm.
go there trying to refer other business. It will soon come around to you, but don't do that. And you have to make networking events, put it on your calendar. Make it a bi-weekly thing. Every networking event is after hours. Chambers of Commerce is a great source of after hours and things like that. Go there and just put it into your calendar. You have to do it every single or every other week in order for you to get good at it. Because the first time you go out, you're not going to be good at it. You're just not. Okay. But you will eventually, and after a while, it will come back to you.
What are some like big no-nos when it comes to networking and meeting new people?
Well, I went through them telling you what to do. Okay.
Mhm.
The worst thing you can do is walk up to somebody, don't look them in the eye, shake their hand like a dead fish, and start talking immediately. Let's say I sell washing machines.
Mm.
Okay. Hi, how you doing? I'm Mike. Oh yeah. Oh, by the way, we're having a big sale on washing machines, and you should really try it. So Don't force it. Anytime you're forcing yourself, because you're walking into a networking event as if you are the expert.
Mm.
Okay, so you have to maintain that. Once you start talking about your product or service or anything else like that, you begin to lose that level.
I know you do public speaking, but do you offer any kind of like coaching service for people that are
Yeah,
struggling with networking?
absolutely. Um, Besides the keynote speeches and the breakout sessions, those are mainly for conferences, summits, things like that. But for a company, um, I'm about to do one right now. It's a workshop, it's a 3 hour workshop, and it's discussing doing exactly what I'm telling you. I have a few clients, a lot of clients that are, I just coach one-on-one. Once a week, we have a little sit down, it's about an hour, and I go over what they did and what they should do to combat that and give them a few extra insights. Okay, so I can coach from the one-on-one to the keynote speeches, and that's where I'm asked back because I just gave a speech in a metal company, and me, well, do you speak at this, speak at that? Yes, yes, yes. And then I go through the same process. Okay, I don't just say, oh, that's good. Look, I got a referral. Oh, that's great. Oh, no, no, no. With that person, I slowly build a rapport, and then I move to close the deal.
Yeah, I guess the main thing is not to be too salesman-y, if that's even
No,
that's not really a word, but just
yeah,
don't be too pushy.
you want to be the opposite.
Mm,
You want to be the opposite because the expert is never a salesperson.
mm,
Okay. Let me jump back again. With every company, from the janitor to the CEO, everyone is a salesperson. Every person, whether that's in their title or not, everyone is a salesperson. Okay. Because they're going to talk about the company. Now, that's why that you give the same respect to the janitor as you do the CEO, because you never know who that janitor is. You don't know where he came from. You don't know how he got there or why he's there. But if you treat him as a human being, treat him with respect and courtesy, it will go a long way.
right. Now I know I'm going a little bit backwards here, but I know you probably weren't always doing this. How did you get into this line of work and what were you doing before this?
Well, it's very simple. What I was doing before this, I was a director of sales for a law firm. I was a manager in a mortgage firm. I was in the Air Force. I did a number of things. I was a business owner. I owned a pizzeria and a restaurant. Okay. Now, one thing, what do all of those occupations have in common? Networking. So I've been working on the networking for 30 years. I've been speaking about it for 10 years.
Huh. Do you feel like things, I know the pandemic, like you mentioned before, kind of affected a lot of people, social anxiety, isolation, all of that. Um, what do you feel like has changed in the networking arena post-pandemic?
The cell phone.
Mm,
The cell phone is the worst enemy for you during a networking event.
mm,
Okay. Because since the pandemic, you know, I I was out with my wife at a diner and I looked across to a table. There was a gentleman and about a 12-year-old, and they were both on their cell phones.
mm,
And you know what? They're at the same table.
mm.
It's horrendous what has happened. But you know what? And anytime somebody comes in to talk with you, there's always a cell phone in the hand. So one thing you have to remember is silence the cell phone, put it away. Don't take it, turn it upside down. because it's still there and it can still annoy you. Okay, put it away. Okay, that's the number one thing that I have to say is working against the 20 somethings and 30 somethings. You know, when I gave a breakout session about a month and a half ago, the first thing I did when I introduced myself, raise your hand. Tell me if you're a 20 something. Tell me if you're a 30 something. Tell me if you're a 40 something or above. You're like,
Mhm.
why? Well, 20 somethings, everything I'm going to tell you, this is going to be Greek. You're not going to understand. The 30 somethings, you took a quick course in Greek and you understood some of the words, but you really don't do it. The 40 somethings and more, it's common sense. They know what to do, but most of them don't.
Now I know like social media is becoming a very popular tool in business and marketing. Do you feel like that is appropriate in when you're in a networking event to connect through social media, or is that valuable?
Absolutely. That's one of the things that I put into my presentation. Once you make that connection with somebody, follow them on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the best for business.
Yeah.
Okay. But LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, I stay away from TikTok. I don't believe in it. But those three, and of course, I have a YouTube channel.
Mm.
Okay. So when I make a connection, I look through all three of those and I see if I can connect. If I do, I want to connect with them. When I advertise, I put something about networking every day, networking and leadership. Those are the two things I talk about.
Mm.
And you know, I think today's I went onto LinkedIn, I made a short little ad and I said, listen, don't talk when you walk to a networking event. The most important thing is listen. And I put that into an ad. I put it on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and I just did it. Most of the people, I have about 5,000 people that follow me. Most of the people are actually looking for that because they learned something new or hear it again every single time I post something. So very important.
Was there anything else you wanted to cover before I close it out?
Well, no, I have been written up in 3 different magazines. I have a book on Amazon called Networking Unleashed. Um, so I've been a rather busy person, so to speak, and I believe another magazine is about to publish another article written about me. So, you know, what I'm saying, all of these things that I'm laying down the foundation for about networking, if you follow it, you will increase your profit margin by next month.
Nice. And where can they find your book? Is that on Amazon or your
Go
website?
on, it's on Amazon, it's sold on Amazon. But if you
Okay.
go onto my website, michaelaforman.com, you'll see all the podcasts that I was on, or some of them, my different talks, a simple little brochure about my talks, how you can get hold of my book. But most importantly, there's a contact form, and you just fill out your name, email, whatever. You send it to me. I'll call you back within a day, and I'll be more than happy to talk to you about it.
Okay. I appreciate your time, Michael, and your valuable insights. And for the listeners, Michael's information will be in the description as well as ours. As always, if you want to be on the podcast, email americangypsy@gmail.com. You can find us on all podcast platform and YouTube. Thank you for your time. Peace.